been playing Genshin games for about 4 years now. Like most people, I started with Genshin Impact and played it for a good while before dropping it. Not long after that, Honkai Star Rail dropped and I was hooked ever since day one. Like man, nothing's ever going to top the Battle Boy arc and that feeling of hearing the main menu music for the first time. Now just to be clear, this video isn't about me trashing Hoyoverse, it's more about why I eventually walked away from both Genshin and Star Rail. Not out of hate, but out of burnout and expectations that were never met when they were needed. Like most, I started playing around the COVID era. Saw a video from one of my favorite creators, Jacksepticeye, and decided to download the game. Of course, like most, I started looking for content surrounding the game and found creators like Tectone, Zyox, Mtash, Braxophone, and Aviosity, the only motherfuckers should be getting praised. Now, I would consider this the golden era of Genshin Impact for content creators and how the game felt, before the scene slowly got overtaken by controversies and petty arguments. When I first booted up the game for the first time, I was blown away. Visually appealing, very easy combat, and a story that was surprisingly easy to get into. It just felt you could enjoy the game. But what really pulled me in was the exploration. The freedom to just see a massive cliff or some distant mountain and know, yeah, I'm going to climb that. And when you did, you weren't just climbing for nothing. You'd get a chest, an achievement, or some breathtaking view of the region. Sometimes that one view would lead you to something else that's cool tucked away in the distance. But while it all felt great, it eventually felt like a chore to do. So the longer I played, the more cracks I started to notice. With every new region, every new patch, things just got a little bit more inconvenient. It's like the game slowly shifted from being fun and free to feeling like a chore. Whether it's new characters that were tailor-made to handle the latest content, or exploration that stopped being more about curiosity and started feeling like a checklist before we could start having fun. One moment that sticks with me is in Azuma. There was this whole side quest just to remove lightning in the region. And it wasn't just one quest, it was like 7. All time gated by server resets. You literally had to wait 7 days in real life if you didn't want God smiting you every 2 seconds. This just didn't happen once. This is built into majority of the game's systems, from farming materials, doing events, fishing, and the goddamn companion quests that can unlock new content in the game, were time gated with companion keys. Like everything that would have been enjoyable to play the game became slightly inconvenient, because you had to do something else or god forbid wait until the next day to do something that should have been fun. And yeah, I get it, it's all done to keep player attention, but let's be real. Having a floating potato that sounds like it came straight from annoying Orange talk more than an actual player is just wild. People don't play games to listen to a side character more than the character they're playing. If I wanted that, I'd be playing Doom, but that's the exception, not the rule. This will probably never happen, but removing lines from Paimon and giving them to the Traveler would generally give the story a better feel. Now with all that being said, I really enjoyed the story up until Sumeru, but it all felt drawn out, which really just enchanted me from wanting to come back and progress this story. Although, that doesn't mean I won't give the story a shot in the future to see if it's improved at all. Finally, the endgame. You'd think after 4 years they would have made it more interactive. While I did complete the endgame content, I was never particularly great at it. That being said, every new game mode or abyss reset always felt slightly inconvenient, especially if you weren't using the new characters, since everything seemed tailor-made for them specifically. But what really drags it down is that every new game mode is just a copy and paste of the last. The only real difference is that one ends up feeling more inconvenient than the other, as there are rarely anything new or interactive for the player to engage with. Now can they fix it? Yes, they probably could, but it's most likely when they are forced to, so they can keep up with the competition. While there is many other things I could talk about as well, this is what I felt like was making me grow tired of the game. But hey, that doesn't mean you can't enjoy the game still. Now pretty much, when I stopped playing Genshin, they had a new game called Honkai Star Rail coming out, which I played on launch. I will say this, I really enjoyed playing Honkai Star Rail. The game was really enjoyable up until penacoding, and I still remember the first time I launched the game and sat there listening to the menu music for the first time, thinking to myself, this feels different, and that I could see myself playing this game for the long term. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case, so here's why I stopped playing. When I first started playing, I really enjoyed the Belbog storyline. Had a solid pace, built up a strong climax, and didn't feel bloated with unnecessary fluff. It was just the right length that kept me engaged. Honestly, that's when I generally loved playing the game. But everything started to decline once I finished penacoding. Every new story quest began feeling longer and longer, and what used to be 2 hours of tightly packed content turned into an 8-hour slug. As someone with a life outside of gaming, I want to enjoy a story in a single sitting, not feel like I'm clocking in for a part-time job. Gacha games are meant to be short and sweet. If I wanted to commit to a deep, drawn-out narrative, I'll just boot up Red Dead Redemption. Now you might be thinking, wouldn't a longer story be a good thing? Sure, in theory. But only if the pacing and content actually holds your attention. The problem is the balance. It's basically 5% peak moments to 95% filler. If most of your story feels like dead weight, it doesn't matter how good the final 5% is if it's already lost my attention. Now, while having a longer story might seem appealing to you, and you might enjoy it, But for me, gacha games are meant to feel like a side game that you're meant to enjoy for around 2 hours when a new update drops. While the story eventually went a direction that didn't really appeal to me, what really kept me hooked was the gameplay loop. I still remember those first few weeks of everyone grinding the simulated universe, trying to push as far as possible. It generally felt like solving a puzzle, beating bosses while on level took actual thought, and pulling it off felt incredibly rewarding. I miss that feeling of having to think critically to earn and win. I'll give credit where it's due. The devs did add new endgame modes that allowed underused units to finally shine, and I thought that was a great move, but now it feels like every new character can do everything. There used to be strategy involved in team building, figuring out exactly what you need for each fight. Now you can just slap on the newest unit and it'll just carry you just fine for most of the content. Look, I get it, power creep is inevitable in gacha games, but what can be done is reworking or buffing older units to keep them viable, and thankfully, it seems like they're slowly moving in that direction. I just hope they continue and keep doing it in the future. Looking back, Hoyoverse clearly knows how to reel people in, but once you're hooked, it's like they switch to autopilot and fall back on the same tired design choices that drove people away in the first place. It's like they're afraid to innovate, so they keep reverting to the same old habits, knowing that enough players will accept whatever gets put out. And honestly, I don't think they have any real incentive to change. Not being punished for it, at least not financially, the systems are built to be as predatory as possible, and the worst part is, it keeps working. The real shame is, a lot of us miss how these games used to feel. Those first few weeks when everything was fresh, full of potential, and generally fun. Now, not so much. I'm not saying you shouldn't enjoy Genshin or Star Rail, you do you, but for me, this is what made me stop playing. What pulled me into Withering Waves? Well, the real question is, who pulled me in? And that was Tectone. Say what you will about him, but he has a knack for dragging people into whatever gacha game he's currently obsessed with. Much like Honkai Star Rail, I started playing Lumière at launch and immediately thought, this feels different. Despite the widespread optimization issues and launch bugs, I still found the experience enjoyable. The opening story chapters were a slow burn, sure, but there was nothing that really pushed me away. No Paimon repeating everything, no content locked behind daily resets, it all felt smooth and surprisingly freeing. One thing I generally appreciated is the companion quests. They're consistently solid, usually taking around 2 hours to complete, and best of all, they're not locked behind arbitrary progression gates. I can play them when I want. While the story does have its dry spells, it still manages to keep me consistently engaged. The writing's team done a great job balancing fluff with more impactful moments without dragging things out unnecessarily. It's a refreshing change of pace, especially for a gacha. Now, while the story is great and all, what really ties everything together is the exploration. Withering Waves does a fantastic job of giving players tools that make exploration feel fluid and rewarding. So far, we've got a grapple, no stamina cost for sprinting out of combat, gliding, and a boat. And hell, we can even run up walls, and the best part is, it's all free. You don't need to pull limited characters just to make exploration more convenient, that's already a massive win in my book. While we're at it, let's talk about the endgame loop. Honestly, most of the endgame modes are really solid, and even if you don't have a fully built team yet, it's not something you need to worry about rushing through. The majority of the rewards come from events that everyone can do. In fact, a lot of players just skip the endgame entirely, and that's totally fine. But we are slowly seeing HP inflation, but this seems to be more attached to the new echo sets that are releasing, so I do hope that they don't follow Genshin footsteps and keep everything relatively balanced. Will there eventually be power creep? Yes, of course, but as long as they end up buffing older units to keep them up to pace, it should be fine. Will I eventually drop Withering Waves? Maybe, but that will depend if they keep improving all aspects of the game as they have been doing already. As for Genshin and Honkai Star Rail, I'll probably go back to them at some point, mainly just for the story, but I'm not here to tell you not to play them, go try for yourself, decide if they're worth your time. If you enjoyed this video, drop a like, leave a comment and hit that subscribe button. Thanks for listening to my thoughts and have a good one.